We're back. The second annual wrap-up. I mean, actually not really, because I've done wrap-ups before. But this is the second time that I'm wearing this shirt, and I'm talking about the books that I read in like a longish period of time. Basically, yesterday was my last day of school, and in this video, I will be talking about every single book that I read this school year. I did a similar thing at the end of the summer last year, and that was actually one of my first videos that got like over 10 views. I think it had around like 30 or something. Instead of rating it on a 1 to 5 scale, I'm doing something a little different. Just to be different, I guess. I'm rating it on a scale of waste of time to great. So the worst books that I read were waste of time. Then the next one is like it was okay. It was okay. Then fine, which is like just in the middle, not memorable necessarily, but like not bad either. Good, and then great. Maybe I should keep track. Maybe I should get a pencil and write down. Yeah, let me do that. So yeah, I've always wanted to do a tier list. I guess this is kind of like a tier list, but like not really either. Yeah. Let me count the books now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. 49? I didn't read 50. Wow, that's really funny. Okay, fine. 49 books. It's still good. It's still good. I think during the summer I had 34, so I'll definitely hopefully be reading more because I have more time. But yeah, okay, let's just get started. The first book that I read was actually before I get started. Last year I had a tower of books that like I own physical copies of that I had like next to me. I just don't have that today because I was feeling a little lazy and didn't want to take them out of my bookshelf and then bring them back here and then have to take them back up. Like way too much work for me. It's literally my first day of summer. I should not be overexerting myself. So yeah, okay, that's why we don't have the tower of books. But honestly, I did read a lot of books like that I didn't have physical copies of, or at least that I didn't buy. So that's a good part of it. I definitely have like a book buying problem, so I guess I was a bit more economically conscious this time around compared to like last year. But yeah, let's just get started. As I said before, the first book that I read was Because of Mr. Terrace by Rob Boya. This is a book that I have read before. It is part of a 3-part series. I guess that's what they call a trilogy. This is also a book that I read for a very long video that I'm doing where I'm rereading a lot of Namek nominees. You could look around my channel for the definition of those. I'm sure I've talked about it in some place. But yeah, this was a reread. It was maybe my third time rereading it, I want to say, or maybe second time, as in I've read it 3 times. So because I had read it before, I definitely don't want to say that it was great. It used to be like one of my favorite books, I feel like. And yeah, like the characters, they stuck with me. I remembered some of their names. I remembered some of their like catchphrases, what they were known for, like what their stories. I'll just say that it's good, because like it is memorable. I remembered it, and it's a good story, quick to read. Yeah. Okay, then we have Princess X by Sherry Priest, I'm pretty sure. This was also a reread. I actually liked it less this time around. I thought I had read it, but the weird thing is, like, while reading it for the second time, I didn't remember some aspects of it, specifically, like, later in the story, so it's kind of weird. I feel like maybe I just DNF'd it the first time, but I actually have a, monthly wrap-up where I discuss this book more in depth, so I'll just lead you to that. Actually, a lot of these books I'm sure you can find in monthly wrap-ups, but yeah, just because I didn't really like it, I'd say I'm going between fine and yeah, I'd say Then we have Fish in a Tree, which is another Namek nominee, and I just rhymed. Yeah, I read another book by the same author, Linda Mololey Hunt, during the summer, and I really liked that one. I'd say it was maybe one of my favorite ever books from last summer that I read. That was also a reread at the time. I remembered some aspects of this book as well, but I think I like One for the Murphys better. I'm not really sure if it's fair to like compare another work of the author and thinking of my rating, but I'd say I don't know. I can't even remember that much of it. I'll say it's good. I'll say it's good. Then I'm going to go into the different dates that I read them. For some reason, for the first 3 books that I read, I just didn't keep track. But going forward, I did. So the next book that I read was Frindle by Andrew Clemens, and I read that only on September 24th through an audiobook, and I also had a physical copy. Right after reading it, that book went on my favorite bookshelf once again. So because of that reason only, I'm going to have to put it in grades. It's just a really cool story about this dude. I can't remember his name, I was about to say it, and then I forgot it. And he decides one day to start calling a pen a frindle instead, and it kind of catches on, and it's all about, like, in a deeper sense, how culture and the change of the times really affects us. But yeah, it's so cool. I remember this book. I remember specific quotes from it. It is just, it's really nostalgic for me. I feel like this is one of the first books I remember reading, which is definitely not true because it's literally a chapter book, but yeah, okay. Then we have Orbiting Jupiter, which I read from September 24th through the 25th. The interesting thing about this book is that I've read it 2 times before this, I'm pretty sure. And both times I actually finished it in 1 day. And this was the only time that I finished it in 2 days. I don't really know why that was the case, but I also listened to the audiobook for the first time this time around. And that is also on my favorite ever bookshelf, so it's the only book that has ever made me like emotional. I don't know if I cried, but like I definitely had water in my eyes. It is really easy to understand and just a compelling story, and it's really good. It's really, really good. The interesting thing is that the same author of this, Gary D. Schmitz, wrote another book that I had to read during, I think, my 8th grade year, or during 8th grade, and I actually did not like the book at all. It is called, wow, like Not Okay or something. Let me search it up. But yeah, I just did not like it. It was boring for me, and like, yeah, the subject matter was boring. It was like really long, or it felt really long. I think I had actually read Orbiting Jupiter before that point, so maybe I was like subconsciously just comparing it to that. But yeah, that's so interesting. The range that Mr. Gary has, I guess. To write one of my favorite books and like one of the most boring books that I've ever read. Okay for Now. I knew I had Okay in the title. Yeah, Okay for Now. I don't even remember what that book's about, but I know that it had a lot to do with birds. I don't know. Okay. I don't know either. But yeah. Then we have Enemies, which I read on September 28th. This is the 5th or 4th? Fifth installment in the Berrybrook Middle School series by Svetlana Chmakova. The first 3 books in the series are part of my favorite ever book list. And then after that, there's a book called Diary. It doesn't really have a story. It's more of an interactive book. And then after that was Enemies, and it disappointed. It did disappoint. I just don't know what happened. I could make a whole video essay trying to figure it out, but like I don't want to, so I wouldn't. Like, it wasn't bad, but like it was just significantly less enjoyable, dare I say worse, to me than all the other ones that I had read before. Yeah, like the plot didn't seem as interesting, like less high stakes. Yeah, it's a bummer. It's definitely a bummer. That being said, like, it wasn't bad. Like, not bad writing or anything. It was just like a disappointment. So for that reason, I'd say that it's like between good and fine. Just because it was such a disappointment. And I love the 3 books like so much. I'm gonna go for fine. It was fine. Okay. Then we have Words on Bathroom Walls. Oh, it's gonna be a stretch. I don't remember. Julie Walton, that's the author's name. I read it from September 27th to 29th, and this was the last book that I read in the first year of school, which was September, obviously. I read this book for a specific video where I read the book and I compared the movie. I had watched the movie one time before that, and I just decided to read the book. I listened to it through audiobook, and the book and the movie are literally so different. Where the difference is for the worse, I don't know, because honestly, I can't really remember this book. I remember the main character's name, Charlie. The other main character from the movie and the other main character from the book are literally named different people, and they have different personalities, so... And I can't remember either of them, so that's definitely not good. For that reason, I don't really know how to rate this, because I can't can't really remember it. But I don't think it was bad. Maybe the default for when I don't remember it, but like I don't remember having necessarily a bad relationship with it, will be fine, because like, yeah, I just can't. I don't know about this one because I can't remember it. I don't know. Okay, so then I read one book that I actually consider to be basically a perfect book, which is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I read that from September 30th to October 8th. Oh my goodness, this book. I have a whole entire video on it as well, so check that out. I don't want to link it because I only have 5 links per video, so scroll a little down on the channel if you're interested in it. I'm sure you'll find it. It is so good. If you're interested, I think you should give it a chance for sure. There's also a TV show on Hulu, which I have yet to watch, but I really want to. Maybe I'll watch it. No hesitation. This is going on great. I think up to this point, this was my favorite book from the school year. However, up to that point, there were only 2 other books, Enemies and War Jump Bathroom Walls, that I hadn't read before. So it doesn't really matter that much that this was my favorite book. But yeah, it was still really good, and I think you should read it. Then we have The Plot, which was read from September 30th to October 12th. I had a trend. At least 2 books in a row that I read were really great. I'm putting this grade right now. It's about a person. Can I remember his name? I don't think so. He's basically a college professor at a school after trying to be an author and kind of like failing miserably. But then he gets a student that has a really good idea. Or at least the student claims that he has a good idea, but he refuses to tell the teacher. And then the student dies, and then the teacher steals that student's idea. And I listened to this on audiobook, which is kind of interesting for me. I feel like if The Plot didn't have the plot that it did, I would not have survived this, because it was like 11 hours long. I don't really listen to audiobooks usually that are that long. Without having like a physical copy of the book in front of me. If I'm being honest, the best combination that I have in terms of reading is having the physical as well as listening to the audiobook at the same time, because it kind of forces me to read faster, so like I'm finishing books faster, but I'm still like understanding it because I'm seeing the words physically on the page. I think this was perhaps the very first book that I actually bought after reading it, and I really hope to continue reading books by Jean Hunt Corlett, which is the author. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. I also have a full video on that, so you should check that out if you'd like as well. But yeah, it is so good. I pride myself in catching the plot twist for this book before it was revealed. However, that didn't like take away from the reading experience at all. And I think there's actually a TV show being developed starring Mahershala Ali, I think, as the main character, which I'm really, really excited for if it actually comes out and it's not canceled or like, I don't know, not picked up by anywhere. I almost guarantee I'll make a video for that because this book is just so good. Okay. Then we have the last lecture. I cannot remember who this book is by, which is like kind of embarrassing for me because I feel like I always remember books, authors. But I guess that's not a good sign that I can't even remember the author's name. Oh, did I get it before I look at it? I feel like his first name may start with an R. Randy Pausch. Randy Pausch. Okay. So this is a book written by a person as he is dying of something that I can't remember, unfortunately. And he's just talking about all the lessons that he learned from life. I feel like this was a bit more biographical than I was expecting. And yeah, I don't remember this book at all. Like, I can't remember a single thing this man said in his book, unfortunately. It is an interesting concept, hearing the last words from a person. Not the last words, but like the last things that he wants to leave to the world, essentially. But like, unfortunately, it didn't stick with me, I guess. For that reason, I'll just say fine. Yeah, I'm sorry, Randy. Thank you for writing this book. Maybe a reread will do me good. Ace of Spades by Farida Bay. I never know how to pronounce that name, and I always feel like I'm doing it wrong, and I can't remember her last name, which is weird. Use my handy dandy device. Who says that? Who says that phones aren't useful? And I got my password wrong. Give me a second, sorry. Okay, Farida Abe-Eyimide. And this was the last book that I read in October. Not sure if I mentioned this, but yeah, I read it from October 24th to the 26th. Listened to this on audiobook, starting off, and then I got a physical copy, and then I listened to the audiobook while reading that said physical copy. Said physical copy, not that said physical copy. This is kind of like a dark academia book. It is centered on two black students going to a predominantly white school. It's described as Gossip Girl meets Get Out, and that is just the perfect description. The very end of it, I feel like it kind of wrapped up itself in like a little pretty bow, which was unfortunate, like I don't know. But I still had a good time enjoying it, especially since I don't read a lot of books starring like black people, so something I need to work on for sure. But yeah, Ace of Spades, I'd say it was good. I think I have a review on this. Then we have The Crucible by Arthur Miller. I started this at October 13th, and I don't know when I finished this. I think later in the list, I don't know like when I started the books either, so it's fine. It takes place in the times of the Salem witch trials. I only recently found out that it's actually like an allegory on McCarthyism, which is actually something that I learned through my history class this year, which was basically during the Cold War, I'm pretty sure, when everybody was paranoid about communism coming to America, and somebody, McCarthy, I can't remember his first name, he was kind of single-handedly the cause of that paranoia, at least specifically when it came to people accusing people of like communist sympathy or communist beliefs. There was also this group called the Hollywood 10, which were 10 people that worked in Hollywood that were accused and blacklisted from Hollywood. Another person accused was actually Walt Disney, but he was found like innocent. But yeah, I don't know. I was kind of intimidated of this book at the beginning, but like it ended up being more comprehensible than I thought, so that was good. But like it still wasn't great. So maybe, and like I wasn't really interested in the story, but like it wasn't bad, so I guess I'll put that in good as well. I hope to make a video not anytime soon because I'm just going into my senior year, but I guess next summer at the end of the school year next year, I'll make a video hopefully talking about all the books that I've ever read through school and like ranking them all, so that'll be fun, and The Crucible will obviously be on that. Then we have An American Marriage, which I read from October 14th to November 25th. I think this was the start of kind of the rampage that I had when I took a very long time to finish books. But this is written by Tayari Jones. This was an Oprah Book Club pick. And it's talking about an African-American couple. One of them is wrongfully incarcerated. And it kind of talks about the relationship and it follows them through like a long time before that person was incarcerated, and then like after the aftermath. It was good. It had some cool lines. It was like, I don't know if it was a romance book, but it did focus on like a relationship, a long-term relationship, which like I definitely don't gravitate towards usually, but like I feel like it's deeper than that. I feel like they're just people who happen to be married. You know what? I'm going to change The Crucible to fine, and I'm going to put the American Marriage to good, because I wouldn't put The Crucible and American Marriage on the same like level. Okay. Then we have Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secret of the Universe, which I read from October 31st to November 5th. I had wanted to read this book actually this summer beforehand. It was on like my list of books that I wanted to read last summer. I am actually in the works of making a video reacting to that list, so look out for that. But Yeah, this book was pretty interesting. It takes place in El Paso, Texas, in the 60s maybe. I can't even remember. There's a movie as well, which hasn't had like a worldwide release, but I'd consider watching it when it comes out. But yeah, it's pretty good. I know a lot of people like this book, and I understand why. And so for that reason, good or great? Okay, I'm gonna rate it great only because this next book that I read was the sequel to it, Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World, which I read from November 13th to November 30th, and I'd say that I like that less than the first one, so I'm gonna rate that good. Both of these books are actually narrated by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is the creator of Hamilton in The Heights, and writer of some of the songs for Bring It On in Moana, and the new Little Mermaid movie, so he obviously has lots of credits to his name. I feel like lots of people know him. I didn't have to say his credentials, but he was actually nominated for a Grammy for reading this book. But he lost to Viola Davis reading Finding Me, but yeah, this book was fine. The ending, again, kind of disappointed me. I knew that it was a duology, and I just thought it would have more like of an epic ending, I guess. There was also like a span of several years before the first and the second one. I think like 9 or something. So yeah, I'd like to see what other people think about it, but how the sequel and the first one compared. If We Were Villains is the next book that I read, which was from December 1st to December 9th. This book is so great, and that's why I'm rating it great. It is also dark academia, talking about a group of college students that are going to school for drama, specifically Shakespeare, and it's kind of like not a murder mystery, but somebody is like murdered. I also did like guess the murderer in this one. I cannot wait until the author releases another book, because this one was just so good. It's her debut novel and the only book that she's released. And I just really, really like it. Then we have Mosquito Land. What is interesting about this book is that I didn't read it. I read it into like 2 separate time sections. Let me explain. So the first section was from December 9th to December 22nd, and then I literally left it on the bus during winter break. And then when I came back from winter break, I continued reading it, and that was from January 3rd to the 17th. Because of that break, I feel like I didn't enjoy it as much, specifically like near the end, or like near the middle really, I was just not as interested, and yeah, that's because I literally took like a 10-day break from it. It wasn't really that interesting to me, honestly. So I'm gonna put that in fine, I'd say. Okay. Then we have Dinosaur Philosophy. Also not sure who wrote this. I think it's like James something. This is actually a book that my sister got from one of her friends, and then I asked to read it, and then I read it in a day on December 22nd. And it's so cool. It's really like simplistic, but it really hits you. At least it hit me. James Stewart is the author. I'd say it's great. Lots of like cool quotes from it, and like definitely its reread ability is pretty high. It's a nice book to just turn to randomly, like if you have nothing else to do. The way that it's formatted is pretty cool. On each page there's a picture of 2 dinosaurs just having a little like one-line conversation, but like it's better than I think I'm describing it as. So you should just give it a shot if you like. Then we have We Are the Ants, December 24th to December 29th, and you can see from my expression I did not like this book. It ended up being on my most disappointing books of 2022 video. And obviously, since I finished on the 29th, it was like one of the last few books that I read. Yeah, I'm wasting my time for sure. And wasting my money. I bought it, and I'm also returning it, as in I'm donating it, or I want to. But the premise is the thing that enticed me. It was about a random dude, which I can't remember the name of, who is abducted by aliens every single year. And the last year that he was abducted, or the last time he was abducted, the aliens gave him the choice to press a button that would end the world. And the book is like him deciding whether or not to end the world. It's very interesting, the premise-wise, but like yeah, it didn't deliver. I don't want to dwell on it actually. Next, Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo from December 24th to 26th. I took a little break, then I read it from the 30th to the 31st of December. This was the final book that I read in 2022, and I actually made a reading vlog, but if you'd like to check that out. But yeah, it's good. This used to be on my favorite book list, and after I finished reading it for the second time, it did not go back there, unfortunately, but like it's still good. So I'm gonna describe it as good. I'd give this a good. I don't know what it was, what I liked about it the first time that I read it, and like what put it on my favorite bookshelf. But the Grishaverse, as like in its entirety, is just it's really cool. I'm thinking of a word. I guess just what Lee is able to do is very like extraordinary. The world building ability that she has is just really remarkable. But as a book by itself, like it's only the first book of the series, and I feel like people tend to believe that the series like improves as it progresses. I actually haven't read the series more than once. And the first time that I read it, I actually read the Six of Crows duology before the Shadow and Bone trilogy, unfortunately. Then Siege and Storm, which was from December 31st to February 12th. I wrote a note, I didn't read it every day, but I feel like I never read any of these books like back to back every day. But yeah, I don't know. Did I like him more than... Actually, I feel like I did, because you're kind of getting more into the story. The first book kind of lays the foundation, and then you just grow from there. So I'd say, was it great though? No, I think it's still good, but it's better than Shadow and Bone, I'd say. Okay, then the next book that I read, or I started, was Yoke by Mary H.K. Choi, which was read from January 18th to April 13th. Yes, you heard that right, January 18th to April 13th. That is literally 85 days. It took me 85 days to read this book. I have a video which you can watch if you'd like, talking about that journey. I considered DNFing this many a times, but I did get through it. It's about two sisters living in New York. One of them recently found out that they had cancer, and that kind of brings them back together into each other's lives. I like the conversations that it had about like identity as being a child of an immigrant. Yeah, it was good, and I did well on a project that I had to do for school on this book. So if I'm being honest, it took me just a long car ride to finish this book up. But yeah, by the end of it, it was really good. It took a little bit for me to get interested, but I did. I put that in greater good. I think if I read it again, I would like it even more potentially, but considering it really took me 85 days to read it, that's not a good sign, necessarily. Let's say good. Let's say good. Okay. We're almost done with the first page. Yeah, 49 books. It's gonna take a while. I hope you're doing alright. Take a break if you like. Go to the bathroom, eat a snack, I don't know. Okay, then we have Michael Vey, Rise of the Elgin, which was read from January 25th to January 30th. A lot of these books on this list are part of the Michael Vey series, and that was in preparation of me reading the 8th book that came out last year, which I also made a video about, I'm pretty sure. They all blend together, honestly. I read them all like really close together that I'm having trouble rating them individually because I can't remember them. Rise of the Elgin was the second one of the series. Michael's trying to I think save his mom. Okay, I feel like I like this one. I'll just say good and move on, because I'm kind of done with the series, even though the series is not done with me, because if the 9th book comes out, I'm probably going to read it. Battle of the Empire is the next book that I read, which is the 3rd book of the Michael Vey series, February 1st to February 17th. Don't want to dwell on it. I can't remember what it's about, so let's say fine. It's fine. Then we have The Door of No Return by Kwame Alexander from February 19th to February 28th, and this was the last book that I read during February. I think I actually finished it on a snow day. Did I make a video? I think I did. But Yeah, this is a story that takes place in like I think the 1700s maybe in Ghana, which is where my family and parents are from. And Kwame Alexander is like one of my favorite authors, so this book was good, but I think it's like my least favorite Kwame Alexander book, but it was still good, so I'll rate it as good. But yeah, just talk about slavery, which is like not fun to read about, so yeah. Okay, then Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid from March 2nd to March 3rd. This was in preparation for the TV show, which I have a whole entire playlist for. And yeah, it was really, really good. I've read one other Taylor Jenkins Reid book called The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. That review actually came out this Monday, but yeah. No hesitation, this is going on great. Cool characters, it has to do with music, which I really have an interest for, and yeah, it was really, really good. Dare I say great, that's why I rated it great. Maybe I should take a break. Maybe I should take a break. Should I take a break? She nodded. Okay. Let me take a break. Let me take a break. I'll be back. I'm just gonna take a break, but like this will be, maybe this won't be in the same video. I don't know. Are we 25 books through? That'd be cool. If I timed it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Okay, I'm a little over halfway, but yeah, I'll be back. Keep watching for my review on Hunt for the Jade Dragon, which is the 4th book in the Michael Bay series.
How long is this going to take?
20 minutes tops. Okay, so continuing. Hunt for the Jade Dragon by Richard Paul Evans. I don't think I've actually mentioned the author, but yeah, of the Michael Bay series, but this is the 4th one. I'm not sure when I started it, but I finished it on March 9th. Barely remember this either. I know that there's like a kind of racist comment made in it, so for that reason, it can't go into great or good. So, fine. I don't think I like hated any of the Michael Bay books, but like, did I like any of them? Honestly, I feel like the first one is the best, which I didn't read this school year. I read during last summer, so. Okay, so now we have Storm of Lightning, which is the 5th one in Michael Bay, March 10th to 14th. This was kind of interesting. Maybe not actually. The book ends with like them going into a battle. We don't really see like an epic battle sequence like in it, which is different than the majority of the other Michael Bay books. So I guess that like put it apart, which is I guess a good thing. So let's do good. I honestly, as I mentioned before, like don't take these ratings from Michael Bay to heart because I can't really remember the books. Then The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. I read the book, which is by Charlie Mackesy, but recently Apple TV released a short film for the book, and I watched that because it was nominated for Best Animated Short Film at the Oscars. It actually ended up winning, so I watched it like before it had won. But I'm not here to compare the two things because I already did in the video, so haha. But yeah, it was good. It was the Barnes & Noble Book of the Year in 2019, I'm pretty sure. I got it for Christmas. I think I finished it like one day then too. It's just really like lighthearted and nice, and it's nice. It's kind of similar to Dinosaur Philosophy, with it like not having much of a plot, but instead it has like conversations kind of between the various characters. Is it great though? Yeah, I don't really have problems with it, so yeah, let's say great. Then Fall of Hades. For some reason I feel like this is the 4th Michael Bay book, but I think that's because House of Hades is the 4th Percy Jackson book. But this is the 6th Michael Bay book, and can't remember it. So let's do 5. Okay. The Final Spark, which was supposed to be the last book, Richard Paul Evans, Mr. Richard Paul Evans, but it wasn't. It's the 7th one. My sister got it for her birthday, Christmas, and I asked to borrow a copy. While reading the Michael Bay series, I read all these books like from the library or from my school library, but yeah, the 7th one I did have a copy of because of my sister. But yeah, I'm not sure when I started it. I said it may have been March 21st, and I know that I finished it on March 27th. It ended fine. Well, then Richard Paul Evans, a few years later, after this book was finished, had the idea to publish another one, which is called The Parasite, which I read right after finishing the 7th one, which was from March 27th to March 31st. This was definitely a letdown. This book did not make the wait worth it. But was it a waste of my time? I don't think so. We only have one waste of my time so far. But yeah, this 2 Parasite is and the Final Spark is fine. Good? Fine. Good. Fine. I feel like it wasn't even that interesting. Yeah, Final Spark was not interesting. And I actually forgot about it. Like, I didn't remember it, even though I had read this book before, so. We're getting close to the end. These next few books I have, like, the most clear memories about, because I've read them recently-ish. Uncomfortable Conversation with a Black Man by Emmanuel Acho, which was read from April 3rd to April 4th. I think I was not the audience for this book, so I didn't enjoy it as much as I could have, I guess. But it was relatively informational. I did know some things, but like, I'll say it's good. He also has a YouTube channel which I want to check out. So yeah, okay. The Great Gatsby, April 3rd to April 14th. Another book that I had to read through school. It was good. Lots of quotable lines. I feel like the story is interesting. The characters are interesting. I don't know, but like, it doesn't stand out. Fine. Like, it was fine. I didn't love it. Okay. Now, How to Be Perfect. Oh, that's another book that I didn't finish. I have another list, which I'm planning on making another video for, not right now, but about the books I didn't finish through the school year. And this is a book that I didn't finish, so I need to add that to it. So, never mind. I guess I read 48 books and not 49. Okay. Between the World and Me is another book that took me a very long time to read. I don't even know when I started it. I'm guessing sometime in February. It's by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and it is a letter to his son telling him about his life, I guess. And it's very not my speed, as in it's not a book that I want to read in my free time. But yet I found myself reading it, yes. But don't worry about that. I started with the audiobook and I got the book from the library. Then I did both. Why it took me so long to read is because there are only like 2 chapters in this book. They're very long chapters. That didn't motivate me. It was hard to stay focused, and I think I actually fell asleep the very first time that I read this book. I was listening to the audiobook only, and I was lying down on a couch, rookie move, I know, and yeah, it just didn't work. But I eventually finished it, although I feel like I don't remember it, so unfortunately, Toni Morrison says that it's required reading. So can I rate it badly on a good conscience? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move every of my Michael Vey reviews down 1, and then I'm going to put Between the World and Me and Good, because I feel like I want to put it in fine, but Michael Vey's in fine. I don't want to put those together. So, yes. Parasite is waste. Final Spark is eh. Fall of Hades is eh. Storm of Lightning is fine. Arc of the Jade Dragon is eh. Battle of the Empire is eh. Rise of the Elgin is fine. Okay, cool, great, okay. 10 more, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, 13 more. Or no, we just did 12, I think, so. Wait a minute, hold on. Yeah, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 more. The Crossover Called Alexander. It's the first book, I think it's the very first book that I read by Kwame. Read it in anticipation of the Disney Plus series, which I never ended up finishing. But it is the summer now, so maybe I will. But yeah, I just read this in a few hours. It was fun. Since I've read it before, it wasn't like as enjoyable of an experience. I think this was actually my 3rd time reading it. I'll just say good. I'll just say good. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, April 14th to April 24th. Yes, this was the very first time that I had read The Hunger Games, if you were to ask, if you're going to ask. And it did not disappoint. The first book is very, very great. I have a playlist on the series and a video on the book, on the first book, as well as for eventually every single movie and book. Part of the series, I have only read the first 2 books and I watched the first 2 movies. But yeah, that was so good. The world building, the characters, the story, hit after hit, so great. I'd recommend. I'm embarrassed that it took me this long to start. Then Atomic Habits by James Clear. This I think is considered one of like the best self-help books, at least the best like motivational or whatever books. Read it from April 10th to April 26th. It was good, but I definitely need to reread because I don't remember it. So I'll say it's fine. I'll say it's fine. Catching Fire, Suzanne Collins. This was not as good as the first one in my opinion, but it wasn't bad, so I'll say good. Read from April 30th to May 10th. Yeah, it's interesting. The Hunger Games and Catching Fire both took me exactly 10 days to read. I wonder if I'll take the same for Mockingjay, but yeah. Then we have a book called My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, I think. This is a book that people said have been good. It's not really like up my alley, and like the subject material is like really troubling. I think people recommend you to search up the content warning, so I recommend the same. I listened to it through audiobook. It was well written, but yeah, of course, like I feel I'm kind of uncomfortable talking about it because of the subject matter, which maybe isn't good. This is the thing that happened that I don't think we should really not talk about it either, but like I don't really have that much to say. Outside of that, it was written well. It was like a relatively long audiobook. I think it was like 11 hours, but like it didn't feel like that. The last few days that I was reading it, I just read like a lot of it consecutively. So it only took me 4 days, I guess, 5. It was April 27th to May 1st. It was good. Then, a book called On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong, which is another book that I've wanted to read for a while. And this was good too. It was a biography written by Ocean to his illiterate mother, and the prose was pretty cool. Pretty beautiful. I think I have a note page for it. Let me pull up a quote if you don't mind, if you have the time. If you've gone this far on this video, I'm sure you do. That's what mothers do. They wait until their children belong to someone else. That's a good one. The most useful thing to do with your hands is to hold on. That's a good one. Little taste. But yeah, you should definitely listen to it. He made another book called, I want to say Time as a Mother, but I'm not sure if that is what it's called. I think it's relatively new. I haven't read that book. Okay, then we have The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Oh, I didn't tell you when I read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I said circa April 27th is when I started it, and I finished it on May 5th. Then The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This is the other Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I read. And it was good. It was definitely, I did not like this as much as I did Daisy Jones and the Six. I think it's mainly because of the subject material. Daisy Jones and the Six has a lot to do with music. This has more to do with Hollywood, and I definitely like music more than Hollywood. I'd say that it's good. I'd say that it's good, and I didn't rate On Earth. I'd say that's good as well. Okay. Then is The Bridge. I haven't talked about this book anywhere, and I feel like it's one of the few books that I haven't talked about anywhere. It's by, just making sure, Bill Konigsberg. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Konigsberg. Konigsberg. This book is it's unlike any other book that I've read. It was one of the most interesting books that I read this year. Um, talks about two teams that meet on the Washington Bridge, and both of them are thinking of jumping. And that's all I'm going to tell you. It's a Numbing nominee this year. I understand why. I got a little bored of it, and then I got more interested, and yeah. It's good. So that's what I'm going to rate it. Good. Then, American Born Chinese, May 25th to 27th. It's a graphic novel. Only reason I read this was because of the Disney Plus series, which I also haven't started. The summer's the time to do it. I will do it. I'll probably binge it. It's interesting because there are like 3 different plot storylines that are in this book, and then they all converge together at the end. I didn't particularly like how they converged, but like, I don't know. I'll say this is fine. I think I had high expectations, and it didn't really deliver. I also have like a very strong feeling like in my soul that the TV show is just way different than the book. That's making me more hopeful for the TV show, I'd say. So yeah, that's fine. Then Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. I started this June something, and I finished it June 9th. This is another popular book, I'm pretty sure. First of all, it's a translated literature from Japanese, and it's about this woman that works at a convenience store that's been working at the same convenience store for, I think, over 20 years. She was there when it started, and she's just always been with it, and it's all about like societal norms and people like kind of questioning her decision for staying at that convenience store and like not broadening her horizons in terms of like jobs or like just her life, really. Like people, for lack of a better term, like look down on her because she doesn't like fit what society wants her to be like at her age. But yeah, it was pretty good. I wish it was longer, actually. It's pretty short. It was pretty funny. And Sayaka has another book called Earthlings, which I am not adverse to reading. I don't know what it's about, but like I'm willing to read it. I'd say Convenience Store was great. I did really like it, actually. Okay, then Eliza and Her Monsters, June 6th to June 9th. This is a book that I read only last year, and the reason that I read it was because I'm making a video rereading my least favorite books of last year. So if that tells you anything, I didn't really like it. But this time I think I liked it a little more, I guess. I read it really fast because I didn't want to spend my time on it, but like it was still, I guess, not a waste of my time. So I'll say it's fine. I'll say it's eh. But last year, if you were to ask me, I'd say it was a waste of my time. Then another one that is in the same video, my least favorite book from last year, which may surprise some people, and is also the very last book that I read this school year, was Macbeth by William Shakespeare from June 10th to June 11th. I read this book through school. The second time I definitely liked it more. You'll have to watch the rereading least favorite books video for more of an explanation on that, but yeah, I'd say this is, I mean, it's Shakespeare. Do I have to say that it's great because it's Shakespeare? No, I don't. I'll say it's good. And yeah, those are all the books that I read during the school year. Thank you so much for watching. I know this was a long video, kind of considering breaking it up into 2 parts. One part being like when I took that break, and then the next part being now, but we'll see what the future holds. You'll know by now. And yeah, I think I had a pretty good reading year. I didn't not like a lot of the books, but I also feel like in terms of the number, I can do better. At least I want to do better. So yeah, that's what the summer is for. I hope to read a lot of books. I actually finished my very first book of the summer today. Like today's the first day and I've already finished a book. I was hoping to actually finish that book like before the school year ended, as in I wanted to finish it like yesterday, but that didn't end up happening, so I've just finished it up today, and yeah. As I mentioned earlier in the video, look out for a video about the books that I didn't finish in the school year, as well as possibly my favorite books of the school year, or my least favorite books. Yeah. Lots of content coming out, so be on the lookout. Thank you for watching this very long video. Sure to like and subscribe if you would like to. And I will see you. I'm so excited for this summer. So much time on my hands. Let's see if I waste it. Bye.